When morning TV meets royal drama, the interview no one saw coming. What happens when America's most beloved morning show hosts come face to face with Hollywood royalty, turned real royalty, and the polite conversation takes a shocking turn? No one could have predicted what unfolded on Live with Kelly and Mark last night, when a seemingly routine celebrity interview spiraled into a tense on-air confrontation that left the studio audience gasping. What began as a cheerful promotional spot for Meghan Markle's latest venture ended with accusations, finger-pointing, and security being called, all while the cameras kept rolling. The morning started like any other on the set of the hit daytime talk show. Kelly Ripa, radiant in a powder blue blazer, sat beside her husband and co-host Mark Consuelos, both poised and smiling as they prepared to welcome their headline guest. The studio buzzed with anticipation, phones already raised to capture the Duchess of Sussex's entrance. "Please welcome Meghan Markle," Kelly announced with trademark enthusiasm, but beneath the warmth in her voice there was a faint edge, just perceptible to those who know her well. Meghan appeared immaculate in a cream-colored ensemble, radiating confidence and calm. Her air-kiss greetings to the host were polite, if a touch formal for the show's usually relaxed energy. As she took her seat, smoothing her outfit with careful precision, Mark leaned forward with his usual charm. "Meghan, it's wonderful to have you here. You look fantastic, and we're so excited to hear about your new project." "Thank you for having me," Meghan replied, her voice carrying that familiar blend of American warmth and polished British poise. "The energy here is quite different from what I'm used to." Kelly's eyebrow flicked upward, a subtle tell viewers have come to recognize. "Different how?" she asked lightly, though her tone hinted she already suspected where this might go. Meghan laughed, perfectly measured. "Oh, just more immediate. More raw. In my previous work there was always a bit more preparation, more control over the narrative." That word, control, hung in the air. Mark's smile faltered for half a second before he recovered. "Well, that's what makes live television exciting," he said smoothly. "No scripts, no second takes, just authentic conversation." "Authentic," Meghan echoed, her voice soft but pointed. "Yes, I suppose that's one way to describe it." Sensing the tension shift, Kelly leaned in, her expression sharpening. "You sound like you have some thoughts about authenticity in media. Care to elaborate?" Meghan's posture straightened and her smile cooled. "Since you ask, Kelly," she began, her tone diplomatic but firm, "I think there's a big difference between authenticity and sensationalism, between genuinely listening to someone's story and, well, creating drama for the sake of ratings." The room went still. Mark glanced at Kelly, eyebrows raised. "Are you suggesting that some media outlets prioritize entertainment over accuracy?" "I'm suggesting," Meghan replied, her composure hardening, "that some people in this industry have built entire careers on making others uncomfortable, on pushing boundaries, not to seek truth but to chase headlines." You could have heard a pin drop. The once cheerful audience now sat frozen, aware they were witnessing something extraordinary and deeply uncomfortable. Kelly's legendary wit flickered behind her eyes as she processed the jab. Whether Meghan meant it as a critique of the media at large or a veiled accusation against her hosts, one thing was clear. This was no longer just another morning show interview. It was a battle of composure, and no one in the room knew who would blink first. "That's a serious accusation," Kelly said, her tone calm but edged with danger, the kind of tone longtime viewers recognized as a warning. "Are you speaking from personal experience?" Meghan's laugh came sharp and unfiltered this time, stripped of performance tinged with real emotion. "Personal experience? Oh, Kelly, where do I even begin? Do you know what it's like to have every word you speak dissected? Every outfit analyzed, every gesture turned into a headline?" Mark leaned in, his voice firm. "Actually, as someone who's been in entertainment for decades, and married to someone who's been in the public eye even longer, I think we might have some idea." The comparison hit a nerve. Meghan's composure wavered, and for the first time, genuine emotion flashed across her face. "With respect, Mark, I don't think you do. When you get criticized, it's professional. When I do, it becomes personal, a referendum on my character, my worth, even my right to exist in certain spaces." Kelly's expression shifted from curiosity to irritation, with a hint of concern. Meghan, I understand that public scrutiny can be difficult, but surely you knew what you were signing up for when you chose to maintain a public profile after what? Meghan interrupted, her voice rising. After I married into a family that shall remain nameless? After I had the audacity to think I could use my platform for good? After I dared to speak up about how I was treated? The air in the studio turned electric. Every camera zoomed tighter. The audience, spellbound, could feel the tension vibrating in the space. Mark leaned back, caught between professionalism and discomfort. Look, Meghan, Kelly said, her tone turning brisk, the no-nonsense voice that had made her famous. Nobody here is attacking you. We invited you on to talk about your project, to give you a platform to share your story. But if you came here with an agenda to lecture us about media ethics and lecture you, Meghan shot back, her voice cracking under strain. I'm simply pointing out that there's a difference between journalism and gossip, between asking tough questions and creating conflict for entertainment. Mark's jaw tightened. Are you suggesting that's what we do here? The question hung heavy in the air. A challenge. I'm suggesting, Meghan said, her voice cold, that this entire industry has a problem with how it treats women, especially women who refuse to play by rules they never agreed to. Kelly's composure, decades in the making, began to fracture. Her smile vanished, replaced by a piercing glare. Excuse me, she said quietly, her voice carrying more weight than a shout. Are you seriously sitting here in our studio on our show suggesting that we are part of some systemic problem? Meghan shifted, but instead of retreating, she doubled down. I'm saying this entire format thrives on conflict. Look around, Kelly, look at your audience. They're not here for my project announcement. They're here because they smell drama, and shows like this feed that hunger. The camera operators, sensing ratings gold, zoomed in as Mark's face reddened with contained anger. Hold on just a minute, he said tightly. You asked to come on this show. Your team requested this appearance. If you have such a problem with the format, why are you here? Because I thought, Meghan snapped, her voice breaking through every layer of composure, that maybe I could have an adult conversation about my work, without having to defend my entire existence. But clearly I was mistaken. Kelly let out a short, humorless laugh. An adult conversation? You've spent the last 10 minutes insulting our show, our industry, and everyone in this studio. If that's your idea of adult conversation, I'd hate to see what you consider childish. The audience sat frozen. No laughter, no applause, just stunned silence as the three of them stared each other down, the tension thick enough to cut, and in that moment, it was clear. The interview was no longer about a project. It was about power, and neither side was backing down. The studio audience was utterly silent now, phones raised high, recording what was quickly becoming one of the most uncomfortable live interviews in recent television history. The tension was so thick it seemed to warp the air itself, pressing against the studio walls. Even the usually unflappable crew members were exchanging uneasy glances. Meghan's composure was hanging by a thread. You want to know what's childish, Kelly? She said, her voice trembling with anger. Childish is reducing every woman who speaks up for herself to a stereotype. Childish is pretending that asking valid questions about media responsibility is some kind of personal attack. But it is personal. Mark cut in, his professional calm finally slipping. You're sitting in our chairs on our show, using our airtime to accuse us of being unethical. How is that not personal? The words hit their mark. Meghan's media-trained poise shattered. Unethical? She repeated, her voice rising. You want to talk about ethics? Let's talk about how this industry chews up women and spits them out. How it's perfectly acceptable to dissect someone's mental health, their family, their marriage, all for entertainment value. Kelly's eyes flashed with fury. Are you implying that we've done that to you? Because I can tell you right now, we've never discussed your personal life in any inappropriate way on this show. Haven't you? Meghan shot back, her voice shaking with years of pent-up frustration. Really? So all those segments about my so-called adjustment issues, my demands, my difficult personality, those were just objective journalism, right? Mark's face was now visibly red, his trademark charm replaced by raw irritation. We've never had those conversations about you here. If you have problems with other outlets, take it up with them. Don't come here and attack us for things we didn't do. You're all part of the same system. Meghan exploded, her voice echoing across the stunned studio. You all feed off each other. You all benefit from the same toxic culture that treats human beings like entertainment products. Her words hung in the air like a spark before a wildfire. Kelly's response came sharp and cutting. You know what, Meghan? You're absolutely right about one thing. We are part of an entertainment system. This is a talk show, not a therapy session. If you can't handle being asked simple questions about your life and career without falling apart, maybe you shouldn't have chosen to stay a public figure. The brutal honesty of it stunned even Mark, who glanced at his co-host in disbelief. Meghan's reaction was instant and explosive. A breakdown? She shot back, voice shaking. Is that what you call it when a woman stands up for herself? When she refuses to smile and nod while being systematically diminished? I call it deflection, Kelly snapped, her patience gone. You came here to promote something, and instead you've spent this entire interview turning yourself into a victim of imaginary attacks. Nobody here has diminished you, Meghan. If anything, we've given you more respect than you've given us. Mark, recognizing the spiraling chaos, tried to intervene. All right, maybe we should all take a breath. No! Meghan cut in sharply, rising abruptly from her chair. The audience gasped audibly. I don't think we should take a breath. I think we should be honest about what's happening here. You invited me on your show, and the moment I didn't play the role you expected, grateful, compliant, entertaining, you turned hostile. Kelly stood too, matching Meghan's stance. Hostile? We've been nothing but professional while you've been attacking us and questioning our integrity. If anyone's been hostile, it's been you, Ben, from the moment you sat down. Professional? Meghan's laugh was sharp and bitter. Is it professional to gaslight your guests? To make them feel crazy for expressing legitimate concerns about how they're treated? That word, gaslight, snapped something in Mark. He rose to his feet, his voice thunderous. That's enough, he said, the command cutting through the chaos. You don't get to come into our house and accuse us of psychological manipulation just because we won't let you control the narrative. Control the narrative? Meghan fired back, her voice rising to a near shout. I'm not trying to control anything. I'm trying to have a conversation without being ambushed. The audience collectively held its breath, every camera trained on the three figures standing face to face in a tableau of disbelief, rage, and unraveling civility. Ambushed? Kelly's voice now matched Meghan's in pitch and fury. We asked you about your project and your experience in media. If that feels like an ambush, maybe the problem isn't with our questions. The confrontation had reached a breaking point. All three stood now, voices raised, tension crackling through the air. The studio audience sat frozen, breathless, their phones raised high to capture what was fast becoming one of television's most volatile meltdowns. Meghan's face tightened, fury twisting every word as she screamed, You want to know what the real problem is? Her voice ricocheted off the studio walls, raw and unhinged. The problem is that mediocre people like you build entire careers tearing down anyone who threatens your safe, irrelevant little bubble. The words landed like a slap. Kelly's mouth fell open. Mark's face drained of color. The audience gasped as one, phones still recording, knowing they were witnessing television history in real time. Kelly recovered first. Her voice shook with restrained venom. Mediocre? Irrelevant? You're calling us that? We've been doing this show for years, earning our audience's trust, their respect. What have you done, Meghan, besides marry well and complain about the consequences? The hit was brutal, and the shock rippled through the room. But Meghan was far beyond caution now. At least I didn't spend my career sucking up to celebrities and pretending that softball questions count as journalism, she fired back, jabbing a finger toward Kelly's face. Mark stepped forward, his tone low and dangerous. That's it. You need to leave. Right now. Oh, I need to leave? Meghan's laughter was wild and hollow. Of course I do. The moment someone tells you the truth, when they refuse to play along with your fake, smiling little circus, you throw them out. Kelly took a step closer, her anger finally cracking through her practiced poise. The truth? You want to talk about truth? Fine. You came on this show with an agenda to stir up drama, and when we didn't give you the fight you wanted, you created one. This entire performance was calculated. Performance? Meghan's voice broke, trembling with rage. You think standing up for myself is a performance? You think refusing to be talked down to by small-minded people is some kind of act? I think, Mark cut in sharply, his tone glacial. that you're having a public breakdown and using our show as your therapy session. And I think our audience deserves better than to watch someone self-destruct on live television." The words hit like a detonator. Meghan's eyes flashed, her breath sharp. She turned to the camera, her voice trembling but defiant. "You see this?" she cried. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. The second a woman shows emotion, any passion, any refusal to smile and stay quiet, she's labeled unstable. She's having a breakdown. She's the problem." Kelly stepped in front of the camera, her voice icy and measured. "Don't you dare use our platform to play the victim," she said, her words cutting clean through the noise. "You came here as a guest and you've spent the entire time attacking us, our show, and everyone behind it. That's not strength, Meghan, that's disrespect. Ungrateful?" Meghan spun back toward Kelly, her voice cracking as she shouted. "Ungrateful for what? For being insulted on national television? For the honor of being gaslit by two people who think I owe them my obedience?" Mark's patience finally broke. He made a subtle hand signal toward the side of the set. Within seconds, 2 security guards appeared, keeping their distance but ready. "Security?" Meghan barked out a laugh that bordered on hysteria. "You called security on me? For what, having opinions? For refusing to be your trained puppet?" Kelly's voice wavered slightly now, fatigue creeping in beneath the anger. "For being disruptive and hostile to our staff and to our audience," she said firmly. "This isn't how we treat guests here. But it's also not how guests treat us." The air in the studio was electric, suffocating. Cameras kept rolling. No one spoke. No one breathed. And everyone watching knew they'd just witnessed something that would follow all 3 of them forever. "This is a workplace, Meghan," Mark said firmly, his patience finally gone. "And you're creating a hostile environment." Meghan let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Hostile environment?" Her voice rose until it was almost painful to hear. "You want to talk about a hostile environment? Try living every single day of your life being judged, critiqued, and diminished by people like you. People who think they're entitled to define what's acceptable, who's likable, who matters." The studio had turned ice cold. Audience members shifted in their seats, some visibly uncomfortable. A few even stood up and slipped quietly toward the exits. Still, the cameras kept rolling, catching every excruciating second of what was fast becoming one of the most uncomfortable interviews in television history. Mark stepped forward, his tone now that of a man who'd made up his mind. "Meghan, you need to leave our studio. This interview is over." Meghan's eyes flashed. "Oh, it's over?" she said, dripping sarcasm. "Of course it is. The moment you can't control the narrative, the moment someone refuses to play by your rules, you shut it down. How convenient." Kelly moved to stand beside her husband, her expression a blend of disbelief and anger. "It's over because you turned what was supposed to be a conversation about your work into a personal attack. On us, on this show, on everyone here. We've tried to stay professional, but you've made that impossible." "Professional?" Meghan shrieked, snatching her purse from beside her chair so violently that it toppled her water glass, sending it crashing across the table. "You call ambushing your guests professional? You call ganging up on someone professional? When nobody ambushed you," Mark said, his composure finally cracking. "We ask standard interview questions. You turned it into this. Whatever this is, you did it to yourself, Meghan." That last sentence hit like a match to gasoline. Something inside her snapped. Her face twisted with fury as she jabbed a finger toward both hosts. "You know what? You're right. I did do this. I did it because I'm tired of pretending that people like you matter. I'm tired of pretending your opinions have value. I'm tired of playing nice with irrelevant people who think they're important just because they have a TV show." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the crew had frozen, staring in disbelief. Kelly and Mark stood still, their faces a mix of shock, anger, and, beneath it all, something close to pity. For a flicker of a moment, Meghan seemed to realize what she'd just said. Her rage faltered, replaced by something rawer, panic, maybe regret. But it was far too late. The damage was done. "I'm leaving," she said finally, though everyone knew it was already over. She adjusted her jacket, voice trembling but defiant. "And I hope your audience sees this for what it really is. A perfect example of how this industry treats anyone who refuses to be silenced." She turned sharply toward the exit, her heels striking the studio floor in a series of hard, echoing clicks. But just before disappearing behind the curtain, she paused, looking back one last time. Her voice dropped to a chilling calm. Enjoy your little kingdom of mediocrity. I hope it keeps you warm at night. And then she was gone. The audience sat motionless, phones still raised, as Kelly and Mark stood frozen in stunned silence. The cameras kept rolling, on the spilled water glinting beneath the studio lights, on the empty chair where Meghan had sat, on the faint echo of her final words still hanging in the air. No one spoke. No one clapped. What had begun as a routine morning interview had turned into something else entirely. A perfect storm of ego, anger and miscommunication that would be replayed, dissected and debated for years to come. The meltdown was complete.